A crew of biologists, Jake, Sarah, Mike, and Emily, pack up their gear and head into the Amazon jungle. They're on the hunt for rare insects, the kind of tiny critters that'd make most people squirm but get these nerds all fired up. They've got backpacks loaded with nets, jars, and those little notebooks where they jot down every bug fact they can. The jungle's a total mess of green, vines hanging everywhere, birds squawking, humidity sticking to their skin. They're loving it, though, laughing about how Mike's already tripped over a root 5 minutes in. The first couple days are a breeze. They're slogging through mud, dodging mosquitoes, and teasing Sarah for how she keeps stopping to snap pics of every weird leaf. Then they hit this river, wide, brown, and moving just fast enough to make crossing it a pain. They're halfway across, balancing on slippery rocks, when Emily freezes. "Guys, hold up," she says, pointing at something dangling from an old tree on the far bank. It's massive, like, bigger than a person, hanging there like some freaky cocoon or nest. Jake squints and goes, "What the heck is that?" They hustle over, splashing through the shallows, curiosity pulling them in. As they get closer, it's not what they thought. Mike's the first to call it out, "No way, that's an anthill." And he's right. This thing's no ordinary pile of dirt. It's clinging to the tree, this giant, lumpy tower of ant engineering, buzzing with life. Sarah's jaw drops. "That's gotta be the wildest thing I've ever seen," she says, and they all just stand there, staring. Ants are everywhere, tiny black dots streaming up and down the bark like it's their own little highway. The team's buzzing now too, grabbing cameras, pulling out notebooks. They've stumbled onto something huge, and they're not about to let it slip by without digging in. Jake's the one who starts poking around first. "How does something like this even happen?" he mutters, snapping a twig off a nearby bush to get a better look. Emily's already got her magnifying glass out, peering at the ants like they're gonna spill their secrets. They're tossing around guesses, maybe it's the soil, maybe the tree's got some special vibe. Whatever it is, they're hooked. This isn't just a side trip anymore, it's the kind of find that could make their whole careers. And they've barely even started. Alright, so Jake, Sarah, Mike, and Emily are still standing there, gawking at this monster anthill wrapped around the tree like it's claiming it. Up close, it's even crazier than they thought. This thing isn't just big, it's huge. It starts at the base of the trunk and climbs up, twisting around like some kind of weird spiral staircase, stretching a good 15 feet into the branches. The whole tree's alive with ants, hundreds of thousands of them, maybe more, scurrying along the bark in these perfect little lines. It's like watching a city in fast forward, all these tiny workers zipping between their skyscrapers of dirt and wood. Sarah's the first to say it, "Guys, this is basically an ant metropolis." And she's not wrong. The way they've got paths carved out between the branches, it's like they've built their own highways and bridges. Mike's grinning like a kid on Christmas, going, "I've seen anthills before, but this? This is next level." They're all buzzing now, pulling out their gear to figure out what's going on. Why here? Why this tree? They start grabbing samples, little scoops of soil from around the roots, a few leaves that have fallen nearby. Emily's got her nose practically in the dirt, muttering about moisture levels and nutrients. Then Jake gets this bright idea to tap the trunk with his knife handle, just a light knock to see what's up. And it's hollow. Like, really hollow. The sound echoes, and he looks at the others with wide eyes. "No wonder they picked this spot," he says. "It's like a ready-made condo for ants." Turns out, the tree's ancient, probably been standing there for centuries, and the inside's all rotted out, leaving this perfect, cozy space. The ants must have moved in ages ago, building their city layer by layer around the trunk. It's warm, it's dry, it's protected from the jungle chaos, it's basically ant paradise. They spend the next couple hours poking around, taking notes, snapping pictures. Sarah's sketching the layout in her notebook, trying to map out how the paths connect. Mike's counting ants like it's a game, losing track somewhere around 1,000. Emily's got her soil samples lined up, testing them with this little kit she brought. The dirt's loaded with stuff they'd love, she says, holding up a vial. This tree's like a buffet and a penthouse all in one. They're geeking out hard, tossing theories back and forth. Maybe the hollow trunk keeps them safe from floods, or maybe the tree's sap did something funky to draw them in. By now, the sun's dipping low, painting the jungle gold, and they're still at it, totally lost in this ant city. They've never seen anything like it, none of the textbooks or YouTube videos prepared them for this. It's wild, it's alive, and it's got them hooked. Little do they know, though, the jungle's about to throw them a curveball that'll keep them stuck their way longer than they planned. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to keep up with the latest exciting stories. I am very pleased when you like the video and write comments. Thank you! Okay, so Jake, Sarah, Mike, and Emily are still camped out by this insane ant city in the tree, totally wrapped up in their bug nerd world. The sun's just about gone, and they're debating whether to pack up or keep going when the sky decides for them. Out of nowhere, the clouds rip open, and it's like someone dumped a giant bucket of water on the jungle. Rain's coming down in sheets, hammering the leaves so hard it sounds like a drumline. Guess we're staying put. Mike yells over the noise, and they scramble to throw a tarp over their gear, huddling under it like drowned rats. The river's rising fast, cutting off their path back, so they're stuck there, crouched by the anthill, watching the chaos. Sarah's the first to notice the ants aren't freaking out. Look at that, she says, pointing. The little guys are moving fast. Up on the tree, thousands of them start locking together, legs and bodies linking up like they're building something. It hits Emily like a ton of bricks, they're making a roof. And sure enough, the ants are forming this living shield over the anthill, a solid mat of tiny bodies blocking the rain from pouring in. Jake's eyes are huge. That's unreal, he says, wiping water off his face. They watch, stunned, as the ants hold their ground. The ones on top are getting pummeled, soaked to the bone, or whatever ants have, but they don't budge. Down below, others are hauling larvae deeper into the nest, tucking them into the hollow trunk where it's dry. It's like a military op, half the colony's taking the hit while the rest keep the kids safe. Mike shakes his head, grinning. These guys are tougher than us. The rain's relentless, pounding for hours, and the team's stuck there, soggy and wide-eyed. They start tossing around questions. How do the ants know who does what? Is it instinct, or are they actually planning this? Sarah's scribbling notes on a damp page, muttering, this is teamwork on a whole other level. Emily's got her camera out, trying to catch it through the downpour, though the lens keeps fogging up. I've read about this kind of thing, she says, but seeing it? Wild. By the time the rain slows to a drizzle, they're soaked through, but they don't care. The ants are still at it, their living roof holding strong, water beating off like it's nothing. Jake leans back against a rock, laughing. We're out here whining about a little rain, and these dudes are just shrugging it off. It's humbling, honestly, they're witnessing something so organized, so tough, it makes their fancy degrees feel small. They're hooked now, itching to dig deeper into this ant empire, even if it means camping out in the mud a little longer. Alright, so the rain's finally let up, leaving Jake, Sarah, Mike, and Emily dripping wet but still glued to this ant city in the tree. The jungle's quiet now, just the drip-drip of water off leaves and the hum of bugs waking back up. The ants? They're already breaking down their living roof, peeling apart like it's no big deal, getting back to business. Sarah's shaking her head, amazed. These little guys are unreal, she says, and the others nod. They've seen some cool stuff in their careers, but this takes the cake. Mike's the one who gets antsy, pun intended. We gotta figure out how long this thing's been here, he says, grabbing a small chisel from his pack. He's not about to wreck anything, just wants a peek inside. The others are on board, so they huddle up and start carefully chipping at the tree, not the anthill itself, just the wood around it. Mike's scraping off tiny slivers, passing them to Emily, who's got this portable kit to analyze the layers. If we can count the rings or test the decay, she says, we'll know how old the setup is. They're at it for hours, taking turns with the tools, passing around granola bars to keep their energy up. The ants don't seem to care, still scurrying along like it's just another day. Finally, Emily's got enough samples. She runs her tests, squinting at the results under a little LED light. Then her jaw drops. Guys, she says, voice shaking a little, this tree's been hollow for at least 300 years. And the anthill? It's been here just as long. They all freeze, letting that sink in. 300 years. That's older than the Declaration of Independence, older than anyone's grandma. Jake lets out a low whistle. So these ants were running this joint before the first explorers even hit the Amazon, he asks, and Emily nods. Yeah. Storms, droughts, floods, whatever the jungle threw at them, they survived it. Sarah's flipping through her notebook, doing quick math. That's, what, dozens of ant generations? Hundreds? It's mind-blowing. This isn't just a cool find anymore, it's history, carved into a tree by a million tiny feet. They sit there, staring at the anthill, picturing it, centuries of ants building, rebuilding, holding strong through every mess the jungle could cook up. Mike's grinning like he's won the lottery. We're standing on, like, an insect dynasty, he says, and they all laugh, but it's true. They snap a few more pics, pack up their samples, and just soak it in. This thing's been here forever, outlasting empires, and they're the first ones to really see it. It's a rush, knowing they've got a story nobody's gonna forget. Okay, so Jake, Sarah, Mike, and Emily have been camped out by this ancient ant city for days now, soaking up every detail they can. The anthill's still buzzing, ants trekking along like they've been doing for 300 years, and the team's got notebooks full of sketches, samples, and wild theories. They're beat, mud-caked boots, mosquito bites everywhere, but they're buzzing too, knowing they've hit on something huge. Finally, though, it's time to pack up. The river's calmed down, and they've got a long trek back to civilization. Before they go, Sarah looks at the tree one last time. We're not taking any of them, right? She asks, and the others shake their heads. Nah, Jake says, slinging his pack over his shoulder. This place is too special. Let 'em keep doing their thing. They all agree, no live ants, no messing with the colony. They've got their data, their pics, their samples. That's enough. Emily snaps a final shot of the anthill glowing in the morning light, and they hit the trail, chatting the whole way about what they've just seen. A month later, they're back in the lab, showered, finally, and they're poring over everything. Mike's crunching numbers, Emily's double-checking the wood samples, Sarah's typing up the report, and Jake's sketching diagrams. When they put it all together, it's a slam dunk. This anthill's one of the oldest ever found, a 300-year-old masterpiece tucked high in an Amazon tree. They send it off to a big journal, cross their fingers, and wait. Then it hits. Their paper drops, and the internet loses its mind. Ant City older than America, one headline screams. Scientists are calling, news sites are pinging them for interviews, and their inbox is a flood of holy crap emails. It's a sensation, people can't get enough of this tiny jungle dynasty that's outlasted storms, explorers, everything. Jake's grinning over coffee one morning, scrolling through the buzz. We did that, he says, and Sarah laughs. Yeah, but the ants did it first. The best part? That anthill's still out there, untouched, right where they left it. No one's hauling it off to a museum or sticking it under glass. It's staying put, high in that hollow tree, smack in the heart of the jungle, doing what it's done for centuries. The team's back home now, sipping beers and swapping stories, but they know they've left a mark, and so have those ants. It's wild to think about, a little piece of nature, older than anyone could have guessed, just humming along, waiting for the next rain.